Welcome to Harvest to Pour, the business of beverages, with your host, Matthew Shipp. This is the podcast for all of those who are involved in the agriculture all the way to the distribution of beverages. And now your host, Matthew Shipp.
Hello and welcome to Harvest to Pour. I'm your host, Matthew Shipp, and today I am here with Angus Rittenberg, co-founder of Wherehouse Beverage Company, that's creating new beverage experiences in cannabis beverage production. How are you doing this morning, Angus?
I'm too bad. Thanks a lot for having me on.
Great. Thanks for being here. Thanks for giving us your time to tell us a little bit more about Wherehouse Beverage Company. So before we get there, let us know a little about yourself and how you got to the point of where now you're growing this business.
Yeah. So my name is Angus Rittenberg, obviously one of the co-founders of Wherehouse Beverage Co. I have two co-founders, Sean Sheehan and Casey Parzak. And we started Wherehouse Beverage Co. in 2020. We saw an opportunity in the cannabis space, specifically in the dispensary channel, to create a new product form that was pretty nascent at the time, and that was low-dose THC beverages. But the challenge that we saw in the early days was it's very hard to produce these products in each state that you sold. So you couldn't ship drinks across state lines. You had to produce them in every state you wanted to sell. And that was challenging because there were no licensed beverage producers in the markets we wanted to be in. So we created a mobile production system to allow us to partner with license holders that didn't produce beverages and bring the production equipment to them to make our brand. So that was the sort of early opportunity we found. We created our first brand, WYNK, which was a 2.5 milligram THC 0-calorie seltzer. We launched that in Ohio, selling through their medical dispensary program. And then we've grown from there, and the business has evolved a lot over time. I'm sure we'll get into a lot of that a bit later in the podcast.
Yeah. So early on, you said you were distributing in different states and actually making it mobile. Why was that?
Yeah, so in 2020 and 2021, the way that the cannabis regulations worked, you had to derive the THC that you were using in the product from marijuana. And marijuana is not federally legal, but states have legalized them under their own programs. The challenging thing is because it's federally illegal, but individual states have legalized it, you can't ship product between states. So the THC that we were putting in our drinks had to be coming from marijuana that was grown in the state, and it could only ever exist in that state. So that creates, a huge issue, and all the things that make traditional beverages work nationally were not possible for us. There's a very different distribution platform that we were beholden to, and one where we had to go and produce our product in every single market that we sold. The issue is, for traditional beverages, there's one large facility somewhere in the country, products produced in bulk and then shipped to all the individual states. Challenge with marijuana-derived products is the facility has to exist in the individual state, and it also has to be licensed under the state program. And that just didn't exist at the time. So rather than go to each state, build a $5 million facility in every state just to sell to the 40 or so dispensaries in the state, we created a tractor trailer system that had everything you needed to produce beverages on it. We'd drive that tractor trailer, to the market. We'd partner with somebody that had a license, and we'd bring our team in and produce our product. So we'd produce enough inventory to hold them over for a month or two, move on to the next state, go produce product there, and make sure that we came back to restock them before they ran out. So that was our original business model, which was insane. Like the hardest possible way to make drinks, but the only way at the time to sell drinks through dispensaries.
So I want to take a step back. What inspired you to kind of create this particular product, given all the regulations and the not loopholes, but the hurdles you had to jump over?
We saw that as the opportunity, the ability to do something that others were not able to. There were not many beverages in the space at the time. And of the beverages that did exist, they were typically only in one state, largely California. California had an okay infrastructure for beverage. There was a licensed canning facility there that many were dependent on, but the rest of the country was kind of a clean slate and largely untouched. So all of these challenges we saw as an opportunity. My background's engineering, and I'd worked in beverage before. So when we were looking at this sort of issue for beverage and dispensaries, it came up with a way that, I thought could work, where we could put the beverage facility on a tractor trailer. So I designed that system and built it with a very small team. And that's really how we got started. So it was extremely challenging, but that's what created the opportunity for us, to solve that problem in a way that others were unlikely to be able to replicate.
So you kind of saw the blue ocean there, just with a couple of hurdles that you felt you could get over. So
yeah,
you took a stab at it.
The other sort of premise of the business, there was the technology side, like create a mobile production solution. But the other opportunity was there were not many low dose products at the time. Low dose meaning, 10 milligram of THC or under. And primarily what you would find in dispensaries was products tailored to cannabis consumers. So they're pretty powerful for an inexperienced user. They'd be way too much. Myself and my co-founders were not cannabis consumers, but in thinking about this industry and starting to build the mobile production solution, we were also experimenting with formulation, and we were making lots of different types of beverages, seeing what might be a good product. And in testing low dose drinks for us as non-cannabis consumers, but alcohol consumers, this 2.5 milligram drink we started with was really compelling because, it gave you a buzz much like alcohol, but it wasn't so overwhelming that it would induce anxiety or sleepiness. It was a very social beverage, and that was an area that was largely untouched at the time. So we thought, if we solved the production solution and we brought a product in that was compelling for alcohol consumers, we could not only get a unique product form into the dispensaries, but also bring in unique customers, people that weren't shopping at dispensaries because they were not cannabis consumers. So that was the story we were telling to dispensaries, retailers at the time, was like, this is really a good thing because you're going to get a whole new type of consumer in your store, the alcohol consumer that's not coming in to buy really high strength products. That was the initial premise of the business.
So we can't made it more social, not just you kind of widen the niche in some ways, but the niche was there of that was what was missing. We got tangled up there. So I want to go ahead and move us a little bit into kind of the heart of the show. I always talk about the harvest to pour journey. Yours is kind of, they're always unique, and I would have fun with these. So the harvest to pour is basically, the harvest is what you're sourcing, why you're sourcing, what you're sourcing, and then how you make your product uniquely yours, although yours is quite unique. And then the pour is essentially the marketing and the education and how you get people to know and come back about your product. So let's go ahead and take a step back to the harvest. So you were talking a lot about dispensaries, and you're getting this THC from somewhere. And I also was reading in your notes that you're getting it from more of a hemp instead of the marijuana itself. So go ahead and kind of lead me in there, but go ahead and tell us about where you're sourcing from.
Yep. So maybe just break down what cannabis is to start and set the foundation for how these products are regulated. So cannabis, is the parent plant, and under cannabis, there's marijuana and there's hemp. These are both cannabis, but they're different. And they're different because of the way that they're regulated. So marijuana is defined as a cannabis plant that's over 0.3% THC by dry weight. So when you think about, joints and sort of the legacy way that people would consume cannabis to get high, that's largely marijuana. And then there's hemp. And hemp is a cannabis plant that's under 0.3% THC by weight. So what that means is hemp has very little THC in it, and it's not intoxicating on its own as a plant. This distinction is important because marijuana is federally illegal, but has been legalized on a state-by-state basis. And that's what you see in dispensaries, medical dispensaries, recreational dispensaries. Hemp, the lower concentration version of cannabis, is federally legal. And so what started to evolve a year and a half or so ago is some states like Minnesota said, well, since hemp is federally legal, if you derive your THC from hemp, these products can be sold outside of dispensaries. And Minnesota regulated it so they could be sold through adult retail, like licensed liquor stores. Okay. So what started to evolve, largely because of Minnesota, is a marketplace where if you want low dose products that are derived from hemp, you can buy those in a liquor store. And in the case of beverage, right beside High Noon, you have a THC beverage equivalent. It's an equivalent because the effect is largely the same. It's a very light buzz. If you have one, if you have six, you can get a more powerful effect. But you can control it. You can stack them up how you wish for the occasion. Mm-hmm. At the same time, for consumers that want higher dose products, more powerful products, you can still buy those, but you have to buy them through dispensaries, and it's regulated through a different body. And the distribution's a lot more controlled. So now, and largely over the past year and a half, there's a really interesting market growing very quickly in the US where consumers can buy low-dose THC drinks in liquor stores. So the same places people are already going to buy adult beverages, there's suddenly a new category of beverage. And it's growing quickly because, consumers are finding that for the first time, there's a product that gives you a buzz, much like alcohol, but doesn't give you a hangover, and it can have 0 calories. So what we have today with WYNK is a 0-calorie seltzer with no hangover that gives you a similar buzz to beer, RTD seltzers, or wine. And it's available right where you're already shopping at a very similar price point.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you probably have a lot more foot traffic in some places that sell spirits and alcohol than you would at a dispensary.
Yep.
Overall. So you're really getting a lot more eyes and feet and all eyes on this product.
Yeah.
So what makes it, other than being just a seltzer with some THC, what makes it kind of unique in that aspect, other than you can get a similar effect from alcohol, but what are the positives, the uprides of that?
Yeah. So, our goal has always been to create a mainstream product, something that fits right in at a liquor store. And the way that we do it, that's somewhat unique in the industry, is we offer these products in normal formats. So you can buy them as singles, a single can, 6 packs of a single flavor, or variety packs. So we do a 12-pack with 4 flavors in them. And then we're also driving the retail price down to be, right in line with the alcohol equivalents. So it's a truly adjacent product sold at the same store. WYNK's unique. It's 0 calorie. That aspect of WYNK is unique in the category. There are very few that are 0 calorie. It's very difficult to formulate a THC beverage that is 0 calorie, that doesn't taste like weed. And we've been able to do that really, really well. That's a lot of the positive feedback we get, is this is extremely unique because it's very clean, it's very lightly flavored, similar to LaCroix, but you don't have any sort of weird taste. It's a very compelling product and a very compelling alternative to alcohol. So we're offering the product at a similar price point in the packaging you're used to seeing, convenient formats for social occasions. And then it's a product that, if you didn't look at the label, you wouldn't know it was a THC drink. It tastes like a drink should taste.
And now a word from our sponsors. Hey, do you have that friend where when you're excited about a new coffee shop you've discovered and you take them there and you're excited for them to try the coffee and they take a sip of it and look at you and go, it's just coffee? Well, I think I've discovered a coffee shop that'll definitely change their mind on what coffee is. Goodman Coffee Roasters honors coffee's rich heritage by partnering directly with farmers, ensuring every sip tells a story of dedication and craftsmanship. From hand-picked beans to perfectly roasted batches, they bring coffee that's more than just a drink. It's a journey. Integrity, sustainability, and uncompromising quality are in every cup. Coffee lovers can experience the Goodman Coffee difference at GoodmanCoffeeRoasters.com. And trust me, your friend will take a sip of this coffee and finally understand what it means to have something that's more than just coffee. Hey, are you spinning your wheels trying to figure out what will really boost your business's bottom line? At Emberry Solutions, our Profit Priority Workshop is here to cut through the noise. We help you zero in on what truly matters, aligning your team, optimizing your processes, and magnifying your profits. Imagine your business running smoother than ever, with every decision and effort leading straight to increased profits. That's what focusing on the right priorities can do. Ready to boost your efficiency and profits? Visit Emberry Solutions and let's start making your business work smarter. At Emberry Solutions, we take your business from bottlenecks to breakthroughs. So I guess now we're going to go into the pour with the marketing piece. I imagine with your marketing comes a lot of education. and letting people know what this is, why it's not it's not going to hit you hard like it would at a dispensary. How do you get that out when they either see the product on the shelves or before they ever go looking for it?
Yeah. So, the two big challenges we have are, one, making people aware that these products even exist. Like they've only just been available in liquor stores for the past year or so. The category as a whole, this is very new. And, the majority of consumers in the US aren't even aware that this exists. So there's an awareness issue, just making people understand that these products exist, are available. And then there's a stigma issue. So once you create awareness, it's education. And cannabis has a lot of stigma associated with it. And that's largely due to high dose products that people try. It's way too much. They have a horrible experience and they don't come back. What we're putting a lot of effort into is that educating consumers that this is a low dose product. It gives you a similar effect to alcohol. It's very approachable. You can control the experience. You can have one can. It's very social, very light effect, or you can have many, just like you would beer or wine. So those are the two sort of awareness education pieces that are critical for the whole category. And everybody needs to do their part to build that awareness. And then how do we do that? So we do it through a lot of hyper-local marketing. In our markets, we're at your sort of local events, farmers markets, festivals, those sorts of things, placing the product right alongside the mainstream alcohol that people trust. So we're building trust with consumers, being, where they already are, at events that they trust and are legitimate, and right alongside products that they trust. In many cases at larger festivals like Riot Fest in Chicago, WYNK sponsored the event, and we're right there alongside the biggest brands in the world being served in the same tents. And that's the sort of thing that really starts to build mainstream appeal and grow trust in the consumers that this is a legitimate product category and these products are safe. We do a lot of digital marketing. So we're in your Instagram feeds, we're on your TikTok. It's interesting seeing TikTok grow as now the third largest search engine. That's where people are going to figure out if products are legitimate or not. And so we do a lot with influencers and sending them samples, not prompting them to say anything specific. It's just an invitation to try it. And if, they're welcome to post what they think about it. So you're getting real people's, real feedback on the product. And when consumers are going and trying to make a buying decision, they're often looking, on TikTok or Instagram and seeing what real people are saying about the product. So that's a huge part of our marketing program. But the important thing is that we're not giving a script. We're not asking people to give positive feedback. We're just giving them product, and they can say what they wish. And largely, it's extremely positive.
Cool. And if you're able to track where you're getting your most response from, where would you say? Is it from the hyper local marketing or like the influencing TikTok that you're seeing more of your customers coming from?
I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned in our 4 or 5 years of doing this. There's no silver bullet. Marketing is about doing a lot of things and a lot of small things and really being everywhere. So we're doing as much as we possibly can. We're not doing $2 million marketing programs or sponsorships. We're doing thousands of small things and trying to do them all in very honest, trusted places. So I wouldn't say, there's no silver bullet. We're doing as much as we can and placing the products in the places that people trust.
Okay. And then following up one more time on the hyper local, you kind of mentioned it, but there's a lot of little farmers markets out there. But then you also mentioned you were sponsoring where other larger companies are. How do you prioritize where to be locally? Because that's a lot of different places.
Yeah. So we look. It's hard, and it's really looking at where the population densities in our markets are, and which events in those markets have been around for a long time and have a lot of repeat consumers that are familiar with this, event, and they've been doing it for years. And when a product is placed there, they know it's something that they can trust. That's what we're looking for. So it's fairly strategic. It's a lot of it is just about volume, doing as many as we can, choosing one silver bullet to take care of the market for a year. It's being consistent and doing lots of little things. Okay.
So what would you say right now is you listed a lot of different challenges in marketing and production. What's your kind of your biggest open challenge at the moment?
The regulatory landscape is extremely dynamic. States are determining their own ways to regulate this, and it's evolving quickly. So we have a variety of issues. One, selecting markets, and we choose markets that we intend to be in for a while, so we can invest heavily in that market in marketing. There's a lot of variability. Markets that are available today might not be available next week. So it's trying to foresee where regulations are going and staying on top of all the conversations in that market. But then the other challenge is, as the states regulate these products, they're determining their own packaging rules, what you can say on the package, what you can't, warning labels or warning symbols that you need. And this is always changing. So we have this sort of supply chain nightmare where you want to buy everything in high volume, but you have to be sensitive to the fact that the rules on what the actual artwork on the package needs to be is constantly changing. So we're always looking for sort of the lowest common denominator package design that fits the most markets with their own rules. But these things are changing. So we spend a lot of time, with our internal compliance team, and we use outside counsel as well to try and predict the future and play this sort of national game of chess. Both markets we should select and really commit to, but also packaging that will be around for a while, so we can order a lot of it without being stuck with inventory we can't sell.
So that's interesting. So what aspects, like you said, volume, labeling, which ones are staying the same the most, and which ones are always changing? Because you're doing state by state with the regulations are changing.
It's the ones that are surprising that change a lot state by state are serving limits. So you think of a canned beverage, you typically think it's one serving. Mm-hmm. Many states have been regulating it that it's required to be multiple servings. And so an example would be, a market that says you can have 5 milligrams per package. So the drink can have 5 milligrams in it, but it can only have a max of 1 milligram per serving. So what we have to then do is make a 5 serving container to meet that rule. Where it becomes really tricky is some states will say, it has to be 0.5 milligram. It cannot be more than 0.5 milligrams per serving. And another market might say it can't be less than 1 milligram per serving.
Oh,
and so now you have a conflict, and you by definition need to have 2 different variants of the product for different markets. So we have like 6 different can artwork designs for 6 conflicting states that prohibit what the other state requires.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Wow. So your labeling is definitely always changing, at least small aspects of it. Now, this is actually a great lead into, you said it's the amount of THC you can add is what's being regulated, not necessarily the liquid volume. That's pretty standard, I'm guessing. Or is that changing too?
That's changing too.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah. So, our 2, just to give an example, our 2 core doses for WYNK are 2.5 milligram in a 7-ounce can, 7.5 ounce can, and 5 milligram in a 12-ounce can. Those are 2 sort of standard SKUs that are available almost everywhere. Connecticut changed their regulations to require these products to only exist as 3 milligram in a 12-ounce can sold in a 4-pack.
Oh my goodness.
So all 3 of those criteria were the one product we don't make. So now we make a specific product for Connecticut to fit that regulation. It's ever evolving, and it's very challenging because we have to watch all of the states. There's no federal sort of overruling guidance.
Okay, so you're definitely in the wild west of this product
It's
at the moment.
Very early days. All the states are doing their best to figure out the right regulations for the consumers, and we're doing our best to both inform them, give them the information they need to make good decisions, but also comply with what they come up with.
Well, that's really good. And you see, maybe if you start seeing a stabilization of that. Now, I'm assuming this and the fact that you were trucking your production facilities all over the place, challenged you to update your technology, and you did do that. Does that help with meeting those quick demands like this, these changing demands?
Yeah. So there's really two sides of the business today. I talked about the difference between marijuana and hemp. We participate on both sides. So products that are derived from marijuana still have to be produced in each state that you sell. The reason it's worth doing is it allows you to do higher dose drinks. So there's a lot of demand for very high dose beverages. We make 100 milligram products. It's 100 milligrams in a can, which is, a typical joint gives you about 150 milligrams. So 100 milligrams in one can is quite a lot. But there's a lot of consumers that want that. So we still use our mobile technology and we still produce high dose beverages in each state that we sell, partnering with cannabis license holders in the individual states, producing the product and selling through dispensaries. On the hemp side, which is primarily WYNK, 10 milligrams and under, we have a very large facility in New York that we produce. One of our lines does 1,000 cans a minute. The other does 500. So very high rate canning. That's where we produce all of our hemp products. So we produce them at scale, just like any other mainstream beverage you see all over the country. And we ship those to beer and liquor distributors across the country. So two very different production techniques. One, state by state, working within licensed facilities. And the other, very much aligned with legacy, mainstream beverage, which is just producing extremely quickly in one facility and shipping across the country. The thing that we have that is unique is while we do have high rate canning, commodity type canning, we also have a small line, and it's one that we can turn on very quickly. We can make very small quantities, and that's how we keep up with these, quickly changing state regulations. So if they change their packaging rules, we're able to get on that line and run a small quantity for the market very quickly and adapt. We have this flexibility to be quick and do very small production runs. And then we push as much of the volume as we can to the high rate lines that are, very low cost per can.
So is there a challenge between being quick and nimble as a company, but also growing into more standardized production? Do you ever see do they challenge each other in any point?
It works pretty well for us because we own our production. So we have the teams to do the canning. We have internal supply chain. So I think we have a pretty significant advantage there where we control it all. For many brands, it's an absolute nightmare because they're beholden to their co-packers, and their co-packers being the people that are actually producing the cans, their lines are typically booked a month out. And so to have a quick change and have to respond quickly can be very hard if you're beholden to others. And we see that creating a lot of issues for other brands and markets responding to these sort of packaging changes. So
we own production's key. All right. Okay. So also now we've got into you've solved several of these new challenges, and you're very adaptable, which is really, really great for making this product work. And again, we're in the Wild West of figuring all this out. Where do you see, or where would you like to take the business next?
Yeah, I mean, our goal at the end of the day is everywhere that you see White Claw or High Noon, you should see WYNK right beside it, and you should see it there at a similar price point. That's what we're trying to get to. Now, the category itself is very young. Yeah, a lot of markets are just getting product or just forming regulations to allow these products. There's many markets becoming available. We're just launching in Florida. We're about to launch in Georgia. So we're just entering these markets. And for a lot of the retailers in the markets, the liquor stores in Florida, for example, this is completely new. They've never even heard of it. And so educating them, showing them the rules and why these are compliant, showing them there's demand. There's a lot of sort of momentum you need to build up in a market to grow the category. So we're doing our best with our sales reps, educating our distributor sales reps, and ultimately educating the retailers to show this new category is growing quickly. These products are worth carrying. They're compliant. They're safe. There's demand. And so in our markets, we're really focused on penetration and getting into all of the retailers that are available. But it takes time to do this education, both for sales reps that have been selling alcohol their whole life, but also for retailers who may not even be aware that this beverage category exists.
Okay. So speaking of that, you said you're talking about you're selling, you have like two different sides of your business, and then going out and the way you're marketing and the way you're educating. This must take, and then also your production and being able to navigate the regulatory landscape. This must take quite a team that you have. And so question is, what would you say your team overall is best at?
Yeah, I think we're very, very strong on production. We always have been. I think that was the original premise of the business. Be strong on production, solve these hard problems. We have a really strong compliance team, staying in tune with these ever-changing regulations. And then what we did last year is brought in a lot of people that had a lot of success during the craft beer boom, which is a different version of the same sort of problem. Yeah. Choosing the right distributors, educating sales reps, educating retailers, increasing competition. So we brought in like our whole sales operations, marketing, and sales team have all come from craft beer primarily. And they're pretty much running the same playbook that craft beer did.
Oh, that's really smart.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, that's great. I really like the idea of pulling in, and you just recognize history for what it is, and you see them going through the same modes pretty much, and it seems to be working at this point.
Yeah, I mean the key thing with this new category is working very closely with distributors. A lot of the hires that we've gotten out of craft beer are all used to working with distributors. They know what distributors need to see. They know how to educate their salespeople. But supporting the distributors well is something, it's much different than the prior cannabis industry and the dispensary channel, because now you're falling into an extremely legacy, very entrenched mainstream beverage channel. Mm-hmm. And there's just a lot of the practices that these distributors want to see you familiar with to help them and support them. We're really strong there. In-store merchandising, education for the sales reps, spending money in their markets to support these products and drive velocities, drive sales for them. Mm-hmm. These are all things that they want to see. And there's traditional ways to do it that have been played out for decades on the alcohol side. And we're really bringing in people that know that playbook and running it for this new category.
That is really smart. I like that. So from your unique perspective, seeing this blue ocean, but also ultimately being in beverages and competing with all the other beverages, what would you say it takes to be successful in the beverage industry, and how is it different now?
Mm-hmm. I think, specifically for the cannabis beverage industry now, it's all about being able to adapt quickly, staying on top of the regulations, moving very quickly to comply with them. That is, I think, the single biggest challenge and single biggest opportunity for strength is being the fastest. That's key. Beverage category as a whole, it's being very selective with who you choose for distribution, right? There's bad distributors and there's good distributors. Figuring out who the right ones are to partner with and who to invest, in a long-term relationship with is a challenge. The people that do that right are the ones that will succeed. And then supporting the markets, doing all the things in the markets to bring customers to stores, make them comfortable with the category. Those are the challenges, but unique opportunities to really set yourself apart from the other brands.
Okay. And within that, do you see any trends in the beverage industry that make your job easier or harder?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a macro trend away from alcohol. So, especially the younger generation, just less demand for alcohol and a lot more focus on health. I don't think that's directly a result of the cannabis industry growing. I think there's just a sort of natural shift happening. Mm-hmm. The opportunity for us is we're providing an alternative that doesn't have the same negative health consequences as alcohol, but still gives you a social buzz. And that's really what we're trying to educate consumers, that there is this alternative, and it doesn't have to be a straight non-alcoholic product, it can still be a product that has an effect.
That's a good point. Okay, so I got a couple more questions. This one's kind of fun. Within Wherehouse Beverage Company, what is your favorite beverage? What style of WYNK? And then when you're just out on out on a date or out in the town, what is your favorite beverage then?
Yep. So for WYNK, my new favorite, we just launched a fall offering. So it's a very limited time flavor. It's a cran blood orange SKU. I think it's our best flavor yet. It'll be available till we run out, probably till November, the way it's selling today. But it's a great flavor. That's something we'll only offer for short periods. And then when I go out, it's a mix. I've always liked WYNK because it is low calorie, lightly flavored. I'm not typically a consumer of really sugary drinks or anything like that. I like light beers. I'm almost ashamed to say Coors Light's one of my favorite beers. It's like the seltzer of beer. But I do drink WYNK a lot in the evenings. It's great on weeknights. No hangover. And increasingly, it's available at bars and restaurants where you are. So in Chicago, for example, one of our bigger markets, 35 to 40% of our sales are to bars and restaurants in that market, so you can get it out of the bar.
That's good news. So, and then finally, where can we find WYNK? Or do you have any events or promotions coming out? Like you just mentioned your seasonal flavors. I don't know if you're going to be doing more seasonal flavors coming down the road or not, but yeah, let us know about where we can find you.
Yep.
And anything we can look forward to.
Sure. So we're in about 15 states available in liquor stores now. We're just launching Florida and Georgia. We have a store locator on our site where you can find not only the stores that sell our products in your area, but the SKUs that are available, the individual products that are available and in stock there. We're constantly updating that site as we add new markets. And then we are available online as well. So if we're not sold at retail in your market, you can order online. And we do have a subscription program as well. So you can sign up to get recurring orders at a discount. So if you want a case each month, you can set that up. So quite widely available.
Well, that's great. That's great to hear. And you seem to be coming into more and more states as time passes. That's good. That's even better to hear. So Angus, thanks you for sharing your story of the beverage, the business behind the beverage, as much as you have, and just your story from coming into this, seeing this unique issue with a couple of unique challenges you and your team felt you could overcome. And even doing some really heavy lifting early on is traveling from state to state to state and to produce to the point to where you are now and splitting that into two businesses. And then, really smart with your marketing, taking what's already worked in some cases with the craft beer movement and taking people who have been marketing and selling that and bringing that into this new wild west of your seltzers with THC. And just a smart moves you guys have made with, between marijuana and hemp and how you're using those within the regulations to grow this business. This has been a great lesson and just really a cool lesson on seeing the blue ocean and taking it by storm. Angus, I really enjoyed this and thank you again for your time, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, appreciate you having me, and thanks a lot.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for listening to Harvest to Pour, the business of beverages with Matthew Shipp. Check the show notes for our guest contact information and connect with Matthew Shipp on LinkedIn today.